Full-scale regional war in a stunning development. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been eliminated in a joint US-Israeli strike on Tehran. The operation, codenamed Epic Fury, is targeting Iran's nuclear sites. In retaliation, Tehran has unleashed a Fateh Khyber, and with that, the pledge that revenge is their duty. Waves of ballistic missiles at Tel Aviv and American bases across the Gulf. U.S. aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln has also been attacked by Iran as part of its response against Washington. And for now, Ayatollah Arafi has been named the interim supreme leader. The conflict has spilled into the heart of the Gulf, with Dubai under direct attack. Flights from Dubai International Airport are halted as missile debris falls near the Palm Jumeirah and Burj Al Arab. Other Gulf nations, including Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Oman, are also under fire. Now, let's try and take a look at the areas targeted by Iran. There is Tel Aviv that's been targeted in Israel, the Israeli financial center. There is also Ali Al Salem, that's the air base in Kuwait, the US 5th Fleet stationed in Bahrain, and that's why there has been sightings and drops and Manama. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and that's why Doha. Al Dhafra Air Base, this is in the UAE, that's where Dubai and Abu Dhabi have come under the radar. And of course, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia has also been targeted. There is also the Erbil Air Base in Iraq. So there are pictures. Clearly, they've been targeted. The Iranian point of view or claim has been that what was targeted was just the American air bases, not civilian areas in these countries. But there has been a lot of debris, explosions, and of course UAVs misdirected that have all come there and landed in civilian areas, causing damage, causing a certain level of alarm and panic in some of these areas, and residents then questioning, where do we go, how safe are we? Now, US bases in the Middle East have been struck. We've got big news coming through. The Al Salem Naval Base in Abu Dhabi has also been targeted by Iranian UAVs. No casualties have been reported, but pictures and update coming through at this point is that the Al Salem base in Abu Dhabi, naval base, has also now been targeted. There you go. These are pictures of an Omani tanker, oil tanker, that was pounded by Iranians as it tried to enter and cross the Strait of Hormuz. Sanjay Suri now joins us live. Sanjay, are you safe and well? It's been a long, tiring night for you too. But more importantly, your safety matters. How are the locals on ground? Whereabouts are you? What's the Israeli sentiment currently?
Well, I'm here in Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv was hit last night. We know that one woman in her 40s was killed in a raid on an apartment block. A number of people were injured, and that entire block was razed. It was destroyed quite massively. Since then, there's been another attack on Beit Shemesh that you referred to, and the death toll there has risen from 5 to 8, and a number of the others injured are in quite critical condition. And there are some reports that the Fatah hypersonic missile was used here, as you were suggesting. So Israel is very much under fire. There are sirens sounding here from time to time. People are advised to take shelter. And given that the civilian population of Israel is, in effect, also a military population, people are rather disciplined in obeying those commands and directives. So Israel very much under fire, as expected. What is not expected is what countries like the UAE are going through, or Bahrain, Oman as well now, Kuwait. That is the surprise. They are quite unprepared for this kind of thing in all sorts of ways. They don't have matching air defenses in place. What is more, the civilian population is not mentally prepared for that kind of thing. In Israel, everyone is ready for this kind of thing. This is a country with people who seem to have nerves of steel. They can take anything. They can do it with their chin up and with a smile. This is not a shock here, although the problem is serious, but the shock and the fear is very much more across the Gulf region.
True, and they're showing lot of character, lot of courage, and that's also because, Sanjay, quickly before we go across to our guest, that's also because they've been dealing with this entire regime for nearly 5 decades now. A regime that has always called for death to Israel, wiping out of the Jews, along with calling for death to America, and has built so many proxies that has wanted the end of Jews and Israel. And Israel has borne all that. But on the other hand, there are also questions being raised, the truth behind the Israeli intention, that this entire greater Israel narrative is being talked about. And did Israel really want this for larger peace or for trying to expand its footprint in and around this entire region?
At the moment, Anand, this is not about regional expansion. This is about Iran. And, for Israel, Iran has appeared an existential threat. And there were three aims in sight for the Israelis, naturally working and fighting this together with the Americans.
Right.
Number one, a regime change. And of course, we've seen the Khamenei has been killed, as have been a lot of top people within the regime and at the top level of the military. Second, to seek to neutralize the nuclear capacities of Iran. And again, we have seen bombing at Isfahan and at other locations. The third is logistically the trickiest, which is to seek to neutralize the ballistic missiles. Of these, Iran has several thousand. They're scattered all over the place. They are being fired, and they are managing to get past defenses, even past Israel's three-layered defense of the Arrow, then the David Sling, and then the Iron Dome. So
Right.
these have got through and have breached these defenses quite successfully, and we are just into the second day of this war yet.
Right, because they, as our military experts said, they're using a very, very smart strategy. The Iranians, they are no pushovers, and they are quite intelligent and advanced in their military technology, because they have also been gaming scenarios and perpetually been in conflict mode. It turns it. When you're constantly in war mode, you think perhaps differently. Sanjay Suri, stay safe. It was good to see you outdoors, and let's hope that it's a quieter day, quieter evening as we this Sunday for you too. Stay safe, and great work done on ground. Great work done on ground. The only Bharatiya reporter on ground in Israel right now is part of the News 18 family, and so proud of you, Sanjay. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Let's go straight across to General VP Malik. General Saab, Jai Hind, Namaste. We also have Lieutenant General KJ Dhillon and also KJS Dhillon and also Sushant Sareen with us. Just an update coming through from the US Central Command. CENTCOM is saying that an Iranian Jamaran-class corvette was struck by US forces during the start of Operation Epic Fury. The ship is currently sinking to the bottom of the Gulf of Oman at a Chabahar port. And Iranian army members of the Revolutionary Guard and police must lay down their weapons. That's the call that's coming from the US Army. So, ये regime पलट के रहेंगे, सत्ता बदल के रहेंगे, is something that the Americans are very, very determined on. But Iran are no pushovers, General Malik. What should Bharat do? What should this region do? How do you see this escalating in the coming days? Your wisdom.
Jai Hind, Anand, and thank you for getting me on your panel. I see another soldier also with me on the panel with his yellow turban, very smart man. Yes, the fact is that it has been an Israeli insecurity has been the major cause of whatever has been going on now for the last 50 years. And Iran has been causing that, and they have been using Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, etc. Not only to Israel, but also to some other countries like the Saudi Arabia, Houthis are fighting there. Now, Israel and USA have, for the last 1 year, they have been indulging earlier in the coercive diplomacy, and now they have got involved in the armed coercion since the June 25 strikes last year. Earlier, the objective was nuclear facilities, but now it's quite obvious, and they are openly saying it is for regime change. My own feeling is that regime change is not so easy.
Jay.
And regime change, particularly a regime which has been there for the last 45 years and well entrenched, they have their own layers of command and control. They also have their own layers of armed forces. So as you notice that within about 36 hours now, they have changed their supreme leader. Somebody else has taken over. So and that gives you an impression that this regime change is not going to be, despite the fact that some public in Iran is unhappy and they are suffering because of the economic struggle that they are having, but yet regime change doesn't come about so easily. And therefore, we may see for the next few days at least that this whole thing will get intensified, the war will get intensified, and we will have more casualties on both sides. And we will also have, of course, the economic losses and the economic suffering in all these countries.
But we have
As
the
far
Iranian... General Saab, sorry, I'm interrupting you because the latest update is that the Iranians have come out and said, the Iranian foreign minister has said that they don't have any plans to block the Strait of Hormuz. So this is different or variant to the IRGC's claim that they will close the Strait of Hormuz. But this just happened about 10-15 minutes back. We got this update. Yes, please. Please continue.
Noted on it. But noted, the fact is that, as you know, notice most of the shipping on their own, they have stopped going in that area. And in any case, all the airlines have stopped going into the Gulf region altogether. So it's going to be an economic loss for most people. After all, we know that almost 40%, 22%, sorry, of the oil in the world is going through this area. And 40% of the Indian energy also comes through this area. But I was talking to you, the other major thing that is going to happen and is going to affect for a long time, the Shia-Sunni divide.
Yeah.
That would definitely increase, as you notice from the kind of things that are happening in
General Malik
in West Asia.
Ji.
And so therefore, this is one, as far as India is concerned, of course, it's keeping itself away and trying to talk to both parties. But the fact is that the kind of things that are happening in Pakistan, we have to be careful within our own country. And the next worry would be how to save or how to bring back our people from this. We have a very large number of people, 9 million people in this area. Even Iran has about 1,200 students from J&K. So that is a large number that we have got. And they would naturally be crying for evacuation. And that would be,
I think,
how long it will continue? I think it will continue for some time, but it may come to an end when Iran may have the intention, but may not have the capacity to take it further. So that is what we have to see.
Somewhere.
How soon and how long will they continue with the kind of capacity that they have with them at the moment.
Is there a greater intent? General Malik, my final question to you, sir, and then I'll bring in Lieutenant General KJ Dhillon and Sushant Sareen also. Is there a larger intent here? Not just wiping out Iran's nuclear program or ballistic manufacturing capacity and bring them down and peg them back and hold them there. But is there a larger US game that has China on its radar?
That will be effect, but at the moment, I think their major aim is to change of regime. And once the regime is changed, that will result into some kind of another advantage that they may have as far as China is concerned. But at the moment, I am quite sure it is only regime change. And also, mind you, the USA has already declared that after the regime change, they do not want to step into it. And they want people of Iran to take over the situation.
Right. Now the OPEC nations have come out and said, General Dhillon, that they are going to additionally produce an additional 206,000 barrels a day. The OPEC nations includes Russia, includes Algeria, includes Saudi Arabia. So these are all nations. So Russian oil comes back into play now. What happens here? Then what happens to the war against Ukraine and trying to curb Russian impact there?
See, these are the booties of the war. Everyone will try and make the best out of the worst situation, and OPEC nations are not going to be left out. So they will produce more on the pretext that more the oil is not coming through the Persian Gulf or Strait of Hormuz, as Jal Malik very rightly said. So they will try and produce more so that they can make a quick buck out of it. Now, one or two points. I totally agree with Jal Malik about the regime change and the intentions of the USA. And also, he very rightly said that regime change don't happen like this. Unless you have the boots on ground, unless you have the people on ground, controlling the countryside, it is very difficult to exercise the regime change. What will happen in this particular case is, for the sake of it, somebody will be brought in and put in the place as a person who is control of the government. The whole of countryside, the IRGC people, the fighters will be all over the country, and there is going to be a civil war. The civil war is the worst thing which will happen, and we've seen in the past also, Americans leave the country in the lurch for themselves to find for themselves. So I'm afraid that type of situation will happen, and Iranians have a stomach for long haul. We have seen Iran-Iraq war, they fought for 10 years. So if the civil war happens, they will. It's in the DNA of the Israeli soldier, Israeli man, to face the hardships and fight for what he feels is right. But there are enough people in Iran who have been wronged by the present regime, who are keeping quiet as of now. They would raise their voice once they realize the present regime is falling. But that does not give them any command and control. There is no structure, there is no hierarchy, there are no commanders, there are no leaders. Individual people raising their voice will not bring in the regime change. For regime change, you need a network, you need a commander, you need a leader, you need a vision. And unfortunately, that is not in the near future.
Will someone beyond the son of the Shah emerge? Shah Reza Pahlavi doesn't evoke so much of confidence, but someone within the IRGC, someone within this entire leadership who's a little more pliant. They still have a religious clerical head who's restored, is there, but perhaps is a little more pliant. Like Maduro's next in line was the one who's now become very pliant with the Americans, and all is well in Venezuela, perceptively. But I'm just saying something like that. Is it possible in Iran? Then that means, all right, you still have a clerical head, but that clerical head is not so far gone or anti-US like the other. He will perhaps wave a little bit of a rhetorical wand for some time, but then back off slowly. We have to wait and watch what actually comes about as this. But I'm also alarmed, viewers, irrespective of both sides are going to hurt. And heart goes out to what's happening in Iran and to a lot of people to whom the Khamenei meant a lot, despite others believing that he was a radical dictator who denied women their rights, etc., etc. But there are those who thought that he's the spiritual head of the Shias. So there's there. But what allows a nation like America to decide, oh, I don't like you guys, I'm going to come and pound you, and I'm going to get away with it? Now, where's the rule and where's the sanctity in that? The same Americans tend to be sanctimonious when a Bharat or a China would do the same and say, oh, I don't like this country, I want to bomb it because to secure my own interests. The same thing Russia is doing, saying I'm doing this because I want to secure my interests, but Russia is the villain of the world. So it's quite ironical that one nation gets away with doing all that and becomes a hero while the others are all villains. How is that possible? The same question to also we have with us Major General Yakov Amidror. With us, many people are saying Israel was itching for this because Israel has always wanted this fight and they wanted the Khamenei gone, and they finally got the Americans to bite after 3 decades of pleading and pleading with them. Would you agree with this, that this entire greater Israel that is also embedded on the Israeli Defense Forces, that's the larger agenda of Israel?
Not at all. Israel didn't attack Jordan, Israel didn't attack Egypt, Israel didn't attack other countries which are closer to Israel. It is Iran that in the last 45 years, talking, speaking, planning, investing, and build around Israel ring of fire, who financed Hezbollah, which controlled Lebanon till the last war. Who financed Hamas, which initiated the 7th of October barbarian attack? Who financed Islamic Jihad, which was part of this attack? Who financed the Houthis in Yemen, which attacked Israel? We didn't know who the Houthis are. And they decided to attack us on behalf of Iran. Who brought the militias into Syria and to Iraq? Iran, not Israel. It is not in Tel Aviv, and not in Jerusalem, but in Tehran. There was a big clock calling for the destruction of Israel before 27. And the Khamenei spoke about it all the time, that Israel should be destroyed totally because of religious and dreams of Iran to be the superpower of the Middle East. And yes, we had an open account with the Iranians since they built the Ring of Fire around Israel, since they made all the terror operations inside Israel and outside Israel. Remember, even in India. I remember myself traveling to India to speak with the Indian authorities when the Iranians succeeded to recruit an Iranian citizen to put a bomb in a car which belongs to the Israeli embassy in Delhi. So,
yes,
with all due respect, it was not initiated by Israel. Israel reacted to the huge plan of the Iranians in the last 45 years to destroy Israel. The fact that we are successfully now succeeding to kill those leaders, to kill these commanders of the Iranian military forces, it's something that we worked many years to achieve because we understood that if they will not be stopped, the existence of Israel will be under a threat. Remember, we brought the archive of the nuclear project of Iran from Tehran. It's a very clear project to produce at first stage 5 nuclear bombs. That's what they prepared to do.
Right.
So from our point of view, the fact that we are acting against the regime in Tehran is a self-defense action that we are doing because they said, no, it's not that we are saying about them, they said that their goal is to destroy Israel. That is not going to happen, and for that you have to fight.
True. Major General Amit Rod, please stay with us. We've got the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran speaking, Syed Khatibzadeh, speaking with CNN. And he has said that President Trump crossed a very dangerous red line after US-Israeli attacks killed the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He's also said, and I'm quoting him, if President Trump didn't want to see Iran hitting back, President Trump should not have started this war. So this is what they're saying. So they are not backing off. They are going to give it their all. And in the past, they have said this, Burzin Wagmar, that Iran, if the Khamenei regime has to go, if you're going to push us out militarily, we will destroy Iran and everybody around us. So do you see that happening? And I'm asking you this, Burzin, because your ancestors have roots in Persia. And this is one of those persecuted groups in Iran who never had a voice for the last 5 decades. And their sacred flame is safe in Bharat, in Udwara. Burzin.
Iran's bluster is all of a piece with its beleaguered, embattled paranoia. Sheer paranoia, which we see playing out in these scattergun approach attacks on civilians, including Oman. And I just wonder what Badr al-Busaidi, the Omani foreign minister, who was practically rehearsing from an Iran script, never mind an Omani script, was giving out that CBS Evening News interview that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that somehow within 3 months everything could be sorted out, including inspection sites undertaken and the rest of it. So that would be my immediate response to that. Another qualifier, please. Russia is not an OPEC member. It's a non-OPEC trading partner. And since, just a little levity, if you will permit me, since we've been going through a lot in the last few days, there is talk of India claiming refunds for, well, tariffs from DC. I just wonder if I could bring the attention of Indians coming from Iranian studies to the 20,000 crore scam, which in independent Indian history is practically second after the Tailgate Papers scam, which took place with UCO Bank Calcutta and the Indo-Iran Real Rupee trade scam, and which is still undergoing investigation from your Enforcement Directorate in New Delhi. So maybe it's time to garner funds on both fronts as such. So I'll leave it at that for the moment.
True. And you make, it's not just levity, it makes practical sense. Everybody wants their pound of flesh. We just want our money back. So, so some wry humor there in a serious conversation, viewers. Please pardon that, but we couldn't resist. 3 U.S. service members have been killed, 5 seriously injured during an operation against Iran. The Pentagon has now confirmed. The Israeli Defense Forces have now come out and said that they have just taken out, this is what the bus militia, or they've said the interim regime's general staff headquarters for internal security. So now they're now going after the bus militia and the police, because that's about 1 million strong. That's the one that polices the streets. That's the one that keeps these protesters at bay. And that's the ones who Trump has also blamed, has shot down nearly 32,000 protesters to cull down this entire protest, wave of protests that started brewing about 2.5 weeks ago. Sushant Sareen, thank you for your patience. How do you see this situation? From which perspective would you see? Would you want to look at it tactically in this region? What's going to happen in the next 10, 15 days? Or what's the larger end game here? Thank you for your patience.
No, not at all. Yeah, I understand. It's but Anand, look, let me just start by pushing back something you asked earlier. Why are the Americans doing what they are doing? And, you quoted all the laws and the rules. There's a simple answer. The Americans are doing it because they can do it. Now, if you had bought into the propaganda, then it's a you problem, not an American problem. So I think we need to be realistic about how the real world works and, live according to the reality of life rather than what it should be. It's never what it should be. Second, I think from purely from this regime change thing, look, I think I'm now quite convinced that even if you cannot effect a complete regime change, even within the regime you can't make a change. I think Israel, the United States, and perhaps even the Gulf states who have been targeted, Iran, I think they will want to emasculate Iran to a point where it is no longer any kind of a threat to any of these countries. So I don't see this campaign stop anytime soon, unless Iran capitulates, because I don't think any of these countries is going to tolerate, Iran, which can target them the way it has been targeting them. Third, I think there are some serious lessons for India. In the sense we have been, and I'm sitting in the presence of 2 very distinguished generals, and I'm going to shoot my mouth off. They can challenge me later on. Both of them are very respected people. But look, I think we really need to rethink our defense planning. I think some changes are being made, but the nature of warfare has changed. If I'm not mistaken, both of these gentlemen are infantry officers. And I'm going to say that, look, the day of the infantry is over. It's only after you have won a war, the infantry has to go and capture a place. Otherwise, wars are going to be fought the way they have been fought in most parts of the world nowadays.
Largely standoff positions, yeah.
Yeah, there are some very, very serious lessons for us. Third, on this whole evacuation bid, I think General Malik was talking about. Look, frankly speaking, if the Indian government had issued advisories weeks in advance, people should take those advisories seriously. Now, you cannot bloody expect the government of India in the middle of war, when missiles are flying, airspaces are closed, that you are now going to send ships or aircraft to evacuate people. You can't do it. So either people take these advisories seriously and evacuate in time, and then it's the government's responsibility. But in the middle of a conflict, which everybody was seeing coming, and you were staying out there because let me stay for another few days, then too bad. Now you please wait until this damn war ends, right? It is not that. Why should Indian soldiers and Indian security personnel put their lives at risk because you did not follow instructions in time? Then I'll just make a couple of more points, right? Just allow me. The Shia-Sunni divide which General Malik is worried about, frankly, it doesn't worry me. That divide has been there for 1500 years. It'll carry on for another 500 for all we care, and it might not be a bad thing. But I suspect
General Dhillon, coming to you after Sushant completes. Yeah,
there is a possibility of something good coming out of this conflict. And let me try and explain to you how. One, if Iran gets a more reasonable kind of a regime, which is at peace with its neighbors and with the rest of the world, which is ready to march in step with the rest of the world, and does not do the kind of stuff which the current regime has been doing, I think that opens up a lot of space for India. If sanctions are lifted on Iran, the Iranian oil comes on the market, it cools down the global oil markets, it opens up avenues for India to build its connectivity projects in Iran. Second, I think if the Arab states were to now become more amenable to the Abraham Accords, I think that would usher in an era of peace in the Middle East.
Right.
And in an Indian perspective, it will be really good because then some of the other very ambitious connectivity projects that we are thinking about, in particular IMEC, which requires the Saudis to be on board, which requires Jordan and UAE already is on board. The Saudis are, vacillating on that. I think those projects come through, which are good for everybody in the region.
Right.
And
so,
I think,
Sushant,
one country which really suffers the final outcome, apart from Iran, Iran might still recover. I hope it's the Turks, who have been the biggest troublemakers in the region. And I think if the Turks were to receive their comeuppance as a result of the new realignments which are going to take place in this region, I think it will be good for India, it will be good for Israel.
Now, Shahid 136 drone, just big development coming through. General Dhillon, your comments after that. The Saudi Arabian prince has come out and said, and the government has said, they are readying a response. If there are any more attacks by the Iranians in this region, they will respond militarily. And we're given to understand the Crown Prince has spoken to President Donald Trump. But this is another big news coming through. We're going to take that. An Iranian Shahid 136 drone has targeted an Emirati oil rig in the Persian Gulf. Now, this is in the Persian Gulf. This is not in the Strait of Hormuz necessarily. So, Adrian and Tom Cooper are with us in the studio. I'm just going to walk up here and you gentlemen can sit there. I'll just mark this out and what this actually means. I'll just see if I can. All right, let's just cancel this, delete that, and come here and explore this. Now, this is the Persian Gulf, viewers. It's not the Strait of Hormuz. So, this is where it becomes, so this is the Strait of Hormuz. So, this is Hormuz. But when it is targeted something in the Persian Gulf, what does that mean? Does this now mean the Iranians are itching for escalation? If this is in this region, if it is in this region, does that mean it becomes an escalation? Will the NATO nations now also move in because USS Abraham Lincoln has been targeted with ballistic missiles? Tom and Adrian, your thoughts?
Well, NATO is not going to become involved. NATO has its hands full with Russia and Ukraine already, at least the European part of the NATO. In regards of this attack on oil rigs, within the IGC, there are two streams. One is for militarization of such rigs and of islands in the Persian Gulf. The other is against it. Back in the 1980s, they have learned the lesson that that arming or striking such facilities is a bad idea. Now it could be. This could be two things. One is that somebody in the chain of command has lost control, or that the unit in question has no idea what is going on, so they have used this UAV on their own. The other is that there is an order from Tehran to do so, to strike the rig in question. Now we do not have the details about who is ordering what.
Yes, we don't have those details, but it's an Emirati, so the UAE have now been dragged into it. General Dhillon, your thoughts?
Yeah, Anand, first about this Emirati oil rig being attacked by a drone or something. In the previous part of your program, about an hour ago, it was being told that whatever is hitting the Gulf countries, these are all debris of the drones or the missiles which have been intercepted. And I was of the opinion debris not always fall on the airports or the five-star hotels. And now in this case on the oil rig, they fall everywhere, including the sea and the deserts. These are not the debris. These are very well targeted attacks on the installations to bring in the Gulf countries in the conflict. Now, having said this, I want to go back to a point which Mr. Sushant Singh, a great friend, who made about infantry probably no more required. Yes, looking at the way things are happening in Gulf, he is right in saying that. But if you look at Indian borders, starting from Jammu, going right up to Siachen, and then turning eastwards along the Great Himalayas, going right up to Arunachal, then turning south against, right across opposite Myanmar, everywhere, wherever we have a dispute, is a hilly terrain, is a high altitude terrain, is a jungle terrain. And those are the places where holders are keepers, and those are the places which are active live borders.
Right.
So infantry is very much required in Indian context. Let your viewers not get away with the idea that infantry is a thing of the past. Infantry was there in the past, infantry there is today. Infantry will remain relevant in Indian context, especially in the mountainous and jungle terrains where we have the live borders and live disputes with two nuclear neighbors who are not our friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. Point well made, General Saab. And like I said, Sushant Sareen has this habit of tickling the generals and the soldiers with comments. So please don't take
He's a very good friend. He's a very good friend.
So that's one. The other part is, does this change the dynamics? Major General Amit Roar, your thoughts, the fact that an Emirati tanker has now been stuck in the Persian Gulf. It's not just even the Strait of Hormuz. It's happened in the Persian Gulf. What does this then do? Because in the recent past, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have had a little bit of a run-in. Will this now bring them together? And if Saudi Arabia says it's backing Bahrain, UAE and all the other countries for whatever response, including Oman, and with its full might, how do the dynamics in this region change?
We are now in the middle of this change. You heard the MBS from Saudi Arabia saying something about warning the Iranians not to continue. I hope that will bring them together, MBS and MBZ, to speak about the future of the Gulf countries. It's the interest of the Gulf countries, and indirectly or indirectly, it's the interest of India and Israel as well. The more they will be united, it will be easier to deal with the Iranian threat in the future, if you'll be a threat, and to bring the economy into the scene by uniting both the Emirates and Saudi Arabia as part of economic line going from India into the Mediterranean through Israel. But I want to say something about the situation now in Iran.
Yes, please.
Because from this reaction of Iran, I believe that the Iranians understand that they are facing a huge problem. And I don't believe that this is a mistake, that someone took the initiative. It was done by those who are controlling the Iranian forces, and it was an Iranian decision.
Right.
And I think that they slowly will have to understand that they don't have answer to the united capabilities of Israel and the United States of America, or better to say, America and the State of Israel. And they will have to make decision. Are they ready to continue, and we will continue to kill and to destroy part of their capabilities, or they will come to a conclusion that it is better to compromise and to understand that in the present situation, they cannot win the war. They can continue the war. They can make many harm to countries around them, like what they did into the rig of the Emirates in the Gulf, but they cannot win the war.
Right. We've just got more updates. Viewers, if I'm looking down on our phone and laptop just to get more updates. There are 2-3 updates. We'll try and give it to you. Burzine Wagmar coming to you, and General Malik, thank you for your patience, sir. Coming back to you across. The IDF has just now said that they've initiated a wave of strikes in the heart of Tehran. So it's fresh strikes. Again, it's a night of, pounding that the Iranians are going to get. And there is The Israel Air Force has initiated a wave of strikes in Tehran. Interception attempts are ongoing. That means they are now going after the internal infrastructure and to ensure a total breakdown of the regime hold, even internally within Iran. And they're going to stretch Iran thin. That's what it looks like in terms of the might of the assault. Meanwhile, U.S. Army is saying that the USS Lincoln was not hit by Iranian missiles. The Lincoln continues. In fact, the missiles didn't even come close. So calling out each other's bluff is also happening now. So 4 ballistic missiles fired, etc. Sorry, it's not happening. Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless air campaign to defend American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. Clearly, they're not going to allow their aircraft carrier to be hit, because if that's hit, then it will be a huge victory for the Iranians and a loss of face perhaps for the most powerful military in the world. But General Malik, are the Iranians running out of time? When I say Iranians, the Khamenei and the IRGC, are they running out of time, sir, here? And is this something which other nations will look at in terms of uncharted territory in wargaming, what the Americans and the Israelis have done this time?
Well, there is no doubt that as the events are showing that the whole war is getting intensified for the next few days, at least one can see that. And the Arab countries are more likely to get together. You know, you were mentioning about the Saudi Arabia and the UAE, which have some kind of a divide in the area of Yemen. But I think they will get over that, and they will sooner or later, they will all fight unitedly. At the moment, they're all dependent on the USA as well as Israel for doing all the damage that is being done to Iran.
Right.
But if required, as it is, they are giving their basis for them to operate, and if required, they will probably get into the war themselves. But let's hope that it doesn't happen. Right. I just want to mention one point about Shia-Sunni divide. And Sushant, friend that he is, he's always trying to tickle the soldiers, as you said correctly. You know, the point is that Shia-Sunni divide in countries like South Asia and all can be a headache for us, because it can cause internal security problems. And it is happening in Pakistan. It can easily happen in India. You know, the areas where they are in majority, like Kargil itself, they are a huge majority they are in. And similarly in the area of Leh Ladakh also. And so these can cause, after all, they're all emotional people. At the moment, they're all united because their spiritual head has been assassinated. And that can cause internal security problems, as it is happening in the in Pakistan.
Right.
But coming back to the war, yes, as I said earlier, sooner or later, I believe, and that's what I feel, that Iran will run out of capacity to continue with the war. And that is what we have to see, how long will it take. And that, of course, would be a great advantage for the people who are fighting against them.
Right. Burzin Wagmar had a comment to make. I'm going to get up and then just refocus our focus when we come back after a break. But Burzin, after your comment. Yes, Burzin.
Yeah. You mentioned about a victory for the Iranians. Has anyone factored in, should the IRGC Navy, which is manning the Persian Gulf waters and Strait of Hormuz, and very adept since the Iran-Iraq war days at laying mines or driving kamikaze boats towards US naval destroyers, were to undertake a hit, they will bring on Trump's full wrath. It'll be all gloves off. Not that any of the gloves are even on just now as we speak, but I do not see it as a victory for the Iranians, not even a Pyrrhic one, but it will be the beginning of the end of this regime in more ways than one. That's point number one. And point number two, which leads in a way from my point number one, because we have factored this in as Iran analysts, Anand, the bunkers theory. You see, these attacks, wanton attacks here, there, everywhere, Dubai airport, Bahrain hotels, so on and so forth, is to sensationalize and be audacious and to make GCC allies quiver nervously because they know Iran is a regional heavyweight. And this is what the regime has thought out, which we have worked out too. Based on this bizarre, perverse notion they have. Just think, Anand, they feel that by attacking the GCC would put pressure on Trump to save our skins and therefore come back to the talks and resume the talks. And therefore, Tehran would walk into the room this time for talks a bit more triumphantly, making stronger demands and digging their heels in. I mean, I don't know which planet the Iranians are on, but I do know then again, because they are apocalyptic, millenarian-minded Shias who will go down, which is precisely what happened to Khamenei. Maddeningly indecisive and ineffectual as a ruler, he could never compromise the raison d'etre of the regime to which he was wedded since 1979. And therefore, this is why the talks have forestalled also at Geneva and elsewhere, because it questions the very core identity and sovereignty and pride of the Islamic Revolution on which everything has been built, and it would unravel. This is the bonkers theory that they have been proposing and which we have worked out, and they actually still believe that they can bring Trump back to talks by throwing a few bombs here, there in Dubai and Kuwait and elsewhere. Fat chance that is happening.
Right. This time around, I think somewhere Trump had tried to delay they've come with a plan. There's a plan and it looks like it's a 10-day blueprint. In 10 days, they want a sequencing that could happen. And somewhere, if you look at Shah Reza Pahlavi, he seems to be outing the plan farther and faster than anybody else, because he keeps telling the people in Iran, get ready. I'll tell you when to start moving. Then he turns around and says, do this, because now this is going to happen. So he's as good as outing the entire blueprint for the common person. But is that, but there's a larger game too. Viewers, being very honest with you, was asked to take a break about 15 minutes ago. We just have about 7-8 minutes left here on this broadcast before we hit top of 9 p.m. I thank all our guests joining from outside of the studio. Before we take a break, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to now start to broaden the focus. You see, this is where the activity is happening. But these are nations who are watching closely. Turkey, there is China here, and Russia here. These are the ones who are going to look at what's going to happen here. And these developments here are going to impact them very, very strongly. Why? How? We'll tell you along with our ears to the ground with Sanjay Suri when we come back.